Diablo III Gameplay and Auction House Panel. Your panelists are Jay Wilson, Jason Bender, Wyatt Cheng, Andrew Chambers, and Chris Haga.
I love you too, faceless member. I actually can see your face. Oh, it's Pinto. Hi, Pinto. What's up, Blizzcon? How you doing? You guys ready to talk about some Diablo? Okay. So I have to tell you, the Endless Forces of Hell, they got some plans for you guys. But I have to say, looking around the room, I think you can take them. I think so. So what we're going to talk to you today is the endless amounts of items, class tuning, abilities, and a whole bunch of stuff about how you can take on those forces of hell. So our panelists here today are myself, Jay, I work on Diablo, Jason Bender, Senior Game Designer, Andrew Chambers, Senior Game Designer, Wyatt Ching, Senior Technical Game Designer, and Chris Haga, Technical Artist. So I'm going to go ahead and let Bender get started.
Thank you, Jay. Hey, everybody. So I'm going to talk about achievements today a little bit. And you can get achievements in a number of ways. One of those ways is coming to BlizzCon. So congratulations, you got your virtual achievement. So, you know, not all achievements involve you going to LAX and all that jazz. Some of them are a little easier to get. Normally you might be playing through and you kill the Skeleton King. You can get an achievement for that. It allows you to track your progress as you're going through the game, feel good about what you've done, you know, review it. Some of it's a little more crazy. Extreme behavior. We consider it extreme to get a level 60 hardcore character because it's not easy. So, you know, if you do things that are a little tougher in the game, you're going to get achievements for that. And then, of course, absurd shenanigans, because we all love shenanigans. Our German players know about this. They play D2 without putting any armor on. That's pretty absurd. In this case, it might be for beating every boss by punching it in the face without holding a weapon. So that would be something that might get you an achievement. But, you know, what's the point beyond that? They're fun to collect, they let you track your accomplishments, but when you get achievements, they also unlock components for your banner. So your banner is sort of a visual representation of what you've done in the game, of all your accomplishments. The more you achieve, the more components for your banner you unlock. For example, in PvP, you might open some crests. Just playing through the game normally and getting achievements by quantity will extend this pennant, so it gets more stuff on it as you play. Other achievements can change the cloth, the sigil, the accent. And then, of course, if you play a lot of hardcore, the base of your banner will get bigger. And after a while, it can all add up to something pretty cool. So now, these banners are not just pretty, although they are pretty. They also allow you, in co-op, to teleport directly to your friends. So if they're out running around, you don't know where they are, you went back to town to craft something or buy from a vendor, you can just click on their banner and then teleport directly to them. So that's pretty useful. Plus, that's a good way of ensuring that people see your cool banner. That's not it, though. There's some other elements we're adding to make gameplay a little more convenient for you. For example, the Stone of Recall. So the Stone of Recall is an endless use item. You can use it as many times as you want to get yourself back to town from the wilderness. So here we are, like, you know, casting it. Takes about 10 seconds. Can be interrupted by monsters. Let's hope that guy up there on the left doesn't interrupt us. So you get back to town, and it leaves this blue portal thing behind. And that allows you to go back to where you came from. Only you can use it. Your friends can't use it, but they can get to you with your banner, so that's no big deal. We're not sure what to call this thing, maybe like Village Door or something. If you can think of something, let us know. Also, we have the Cauldron of Jordan. So the Cauldron of Jordan allows you to sell stuff right out of your inventory. So if you want to clear up your inventory, you want some gold, you can sell as many things as you want right out of your bag. Similarly, the Cube of the Nephilim allows you to pick items in your bag and convert them to crafting components. So you can, you got some stuff in your bag, you like it, maybe you replaced your gear, you don't want to go back to town, just yet, you can use the Cube of the Nephilim to convert them into crafting materials and craft all kinds of cool stuff.
Thanks, Jason. Holy moly, there's a lot of you guys out there. How you doing? All right, I'm going to talk about crafting for a bit, but crafting is all about making items, or making your existing items, even more awesome. So I wanted to take a step back and look at the way that items were handled in Diablo 2 and what their item life cycle was. You kind of got items from two different sources in Diablo 2. You could buy it from a vendor, or you could do what I've done here, kill Andariel and get awesome Trident. Once I've picked up that item, I'm probably gonna, say, wear it for a while, but then it's gonna get upgraded, and I can trade it to my friend for some gold, maybe, if I'm lucky, or I can sell it to Chassis here for some gold. What do I do with that gold? Well, you could gamble it with Geed. Geed allowed you to buy these unidentified items for like crazy amounts of gold or crazy little amounts of gold, and then you identified them and found out what it was. The system is actually really cool because it gave you access to some super powerful items, but a lot of people had a really negative experience when they first tried it out, so they never really went back and kept on doing it again and again and again. So you just end up hoarding all of your gold, and that's not really a life cycle, that's just, you know, a pub with no beer. And that makes Andrew really, really sad. So what are some of the things that we're doing in Diablo 3 to make this item life cycle better? First off, I want to talk about the Mystic. The Mystic is where you go if you want to enhance your items. She can take any item that you have, like your chest piece or your bracers, and she can add an enhancement to it. The enhancements are a wide array of things, like Gold Find or Magic Find, but also increase core stats. There's also a whole bunch of things that you can do for, like, that's class related. So for example here, it increases hatred regeneration by 0.83 per second on a one-handed weapon. The interesting thing about enhancements in Diablo 3 as opposed to WoW is they're actually random. So that 0.83 per second, that actually has a chance, like the bottom line for that is 0.66 per second. So you can see up here I've enhanced my Keen Axe of Storms with hatred regen, and I've gotten the bottom. It's like 0.66 per second. I can reapply that enhancement and have a chance of actually making it better and making it get to the top end of that range. The awesome thing about that is, as you're leveling up, you know, you apply the enhancement and that's good enough at it's maybe like middle range. But at the end game, by applying these enhancements, you can get like really super powerful enhancements on your items that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to get by investing time and resources into that. And of course, she really facilitates aberrant builds. What is that? That is a demon hunter running around with a one-handed axe and a shield. Who the hell thought of that? We did, because it's awesome, you know? Like, you don't always have to want to run around and play with ranged weapons. Maybe you just want to, like, spam Fan of Knives and Chakram and Vault everywhere and that sort of stuff. And the Mystic can allow you to do that. Ordinarily, you wouldn't be able to get hatred regen on a one-handed axe. But, hey, she lets you do it because she's kind of cool. And she levels up. She has 10 levels. Awesome artwork. We have amazing artists, by the way. Have you noticed? Yeah. She levels up. She has 10 levels. Every time she levels up, she gets more powerful enhancements. And she uses pages of training to level up, which you can get from killing monsters randomly in the world. The next guy I want to talk about is the Jeweler. This guy's Covetous Shen. He's a little bit shady, but if you have anything gem-related, he's the guy to go to. So what can he do? He can combine your gems. In the game, you have like 14 different ranks of gems. Gems can be put in sockets of your items, and they imbue extra properties. So like, you know, you want more experience, you can put a ruby in your helm socket, and that gives you plus X% experience for every kill that you make. The more powerful ones, of course, like are only found and able to be combined, so you're going to have to level him up to get access to those. He can also add sockets to items. This is great. Like, say I'm playing a bard and I'm like really loving precision and frenzy and kicking butt that way. and I get this item, and it's got tons of precision, or sorry, tons of like fury regeneration on it, but I need precision, so I add a socket to it, and then I can put the gem in there, which has the plus precision attribute. He also removes gems from items. This is actually, it's actually pretty cool. Let me give you an example here. Say you're like leveling up, you hit level 60, you've been having that plus experience gem in your helm the entire time, but you're level 60 now. You don't need experience. So you go to this guy, you have him take the gem out, you put the plus 20% life in there, because in Inferno you're going to need it. And then you can send that plus experience gem to your ult and then help level him up faster. Speaking of leveling up, the jeweler also levels up. As he levels up, he gets the ability to combine more powerful gems, higher ranks. He also uses pages of training to level up. So when you're like improving your like artisans, you're gonna have to kind of pick and choose which ones you want to focus on. Fortunately, they're account based, so you know you level up your barb to level 60 and you focus on the blacksmith the entire time. When the demon hunter, you level in, you jump in, and right there and then the blacksmith is already like level 10, and your mystic, you know, you can level her up separately. Talking about the blacksmith, we've spoken a lot about him already. He can forge items and craft, you know, things for you. What we haven't spoken about is he can actually craft legendary and unique set items for you. So these are things that you find in, say, normal difficulty. So here he's like making the Sanity's Edge. It's a legendary two-handed mighty weapon. This has actually come from a plan that you found when you were killing a monster. You took that plan to your blacksmith, you taught it to him, and now you can make that again and again and again. He can also make the unique set items. Now, this is a normal difficulty unique set. You're gonna, you know, find this in the world when you're playing normal. The tricky thing about Diablo is that these items can drop from anything. It's not like you can pick one boss and just go and farm that for your set. So we figured, hey, let's, you know, make it a little bit easier for you guys. And once you get this plan, you can then craft every item in this set to get the set bonus. So here I've crafted Born's Pauldrons, the shoulder pieces, and his Seething Rage, the one-handed sword. I've crafted those so I can wear them and get the set bonus. Makes it way easier. I mean, in Inferno, you're still going to be like farming unique sets and that sort of stuff, but this is just a really great way of ensuring that as you're progressing through the game, you can still get the cool factor out of these things. So how does the Diablo III item lifecycle look with all those added features? Well, when an item's born, it can come from a vendor or from a loot drop. It can also come from crafting or, of course, from the auction house. So what do I do with it? I can wear it. Probably definitely going to wear it if I buy it off the auction house. When I'm done with it, I can sell it. That gives me gold for repairs or for crafting or forging more gear. I can salvage it, and I can actually sell those salvage components on the auction house. I can use them to enhance my existing items. I can put it on the auction house directly, make gold, make money. Who doesn't like that? Or I can trade it. I can help twink out my characters, or I can, you know, give it to my friend and be nice. It's not my style, but, you know, I twink. So what's an example of that? So say I'm playing through the game, and I get a loot drop. I don't really need it, it's not an upgrade, so I decide to salvage it. Salvage into some components that I put for sale up on the auction house. Someone buys that, win, rock and roll, I made some gold. I keep on playing for a while, and then next week I go and like look on the auction house and see a wicked one-handed axe that's just like perfect for me. I decide to buy that from the auction house. I didn't know that that was actually crafted from the same salvage components that I sold on the auction house a week earlier. That's a life cycle, and that makes Andrew happy. And of course, we have some awesome item artwork that we just wanted to show off. It didn't fit in anywhere else, but these are all the awesome items that you're going to be doing and playing with. Thanks. So who likes PvP?
I like PvP.
No. You like PvP? That wasn't loud enough. Who likes PvP? Blizzcon high five for PvP. I just high five Blizzcon. It's kind of awesome. Yeah.
Well
okay,
done, sir.
So I guess I better talk about PvP now. As a lot of you might know, last year we had Arena on the floor. This year, playable, we have Team Deathmatch. We got a lot of awesome feedback from you guys, from the community, from last year's showing at the arena, and one of the dominant forms of feedback that we got was that sitting around and waiting while my friends kill each other really isn't fun. So we're introducing Team Deathmatch. Team Deathmatch really solves that problem. You die, you're back in 3 seconds. You're back in the fight, you're fighting, you're able to like play with your character more, you're able to explore more. There's not the intimidation factor in Team Deathmatch either of like, wow, am I gonna let my like arena team down by coming in with this crazy magic, wizard build that only spawns like mirror images and that's all I do? No, it's totally cool. So Team Deathmatch, the game is 10 minutes games. There's 2 teams, red and blue. At the end of the game, the team with the most kills wins. There's definitely no skill swapping during games. There's also no item swapping during games. We want there to be like still some tactical advantage to understanding, hey, that barb over there is running up and like stunning like the heck out of me the entire time. I need to know that the entire 10 minutes of the game so I can actually effectively deal with that and respond. It's definitely going to be 4v4. Last year it was 3v3. We stepped it up. 4v4 is way more fun for responsiveness and the interactivity. You're definitely going to be using your PvE character. There was some confusion about this, but you're definitely going to be like leveling up to 60, taking your character, your wizard or your witch doctor that you've been focusing on and getting to Inferno in, bringing them into PvP, and then experiencing them in PvP and seeing how they play out. And hey, go play it. We have it on the showroom floor. You're our community. We make these games for you. We love your feedback. It is absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to talk about the auction house. I hope you guys like UI because there's a wall of it coming at you. All right, so why an auction house? Well, one of the major things and reasons that we decided to do an auction house is because trading is a big focus of the Diablo games. So some of you might know that you get loot in Diablo games and it's kind of a big deal. That loot is randomized. The Diablo system is pretty unique in that everything that drops is got some kind of random element if it's something that you wear on your body. And any monster could drop any item in the world. You don't have to go to a particular monster and do that. But because of that, there's actually really, really low odds that you get the exact thing you want. Even if you get the exact thing you want, the chances that it actually has the best stats that you could possibly get on that item is pretty much, it's almost impossible. And that's really by design. Because Diablo's always been a social game in the sense that you play with and trade with other players. So trading is really the best way to get the best items in the game, and that's always been the case for all the Diablo games. We've focused really heavily on the trading aspect. So given that, you'd think that the previous games would have awesome systems for trading, and if you think that, you'd be wrong. So in Diablo 2, there were a bunch of ways you could trade. There was an in-game interface where you could kind of put items up and you'd stick your item up and somebody else would, and you'd say, well, what do you got? And hopefully it had something good that you wanted. You could throw items on the ground and pray. I wouldn't recommend that. You could go up and post in the chat channels or forums, hoping that someone is listening who has the thing you want or wants to buy the thing you have. It's pretty inefficient and it makes the chat channels not really very chatty. And then you could also go to like third-party websites and buy things with real money. That works fine, except that maybe the transaction wouldn't work, maybe you get ripped off, maybe someone would steal your account. None of those are really great experiences, and we felt that we could do a lot better. So we focused on an auction house because it's really a very well-known, convenient, secure, easy way for people to trade. There's things like the WoW auction house, there's eBay. People understand an auction house, they understand how it works and how to interact with it. So we made the decision to allow players to trade in Diablo 3 the same way that they traded in Diablo 2, with gold or real money. So we're going to let you pretty much trade almost anything in the auction house. A wearable item, gold, stackable components like crafting items and things like that. And this is one of the most important points. We want you to be able to participate for free if you go into the real money auction house. A lot of people have said to us, I don't necessarily have a problem with, the real money or not. I just don't want to open up my wallet. I don't want to give you a credit card. And you know what? That's fine. You don't have to, and I'm going to explain how. This is Timmy the Demon Hunter. Why is he Timmy? Because it amuses me to call a Demon Hunter Timmy. So Timmy needs a new bow. That'd be nice. That bow would be pretty awesome. Venom Husk. Got a lot of blue little statty things on there. We like those. So he goes off in the world seeking his fortune. Oh, does he find it? Nope. Instead, he finds this thing. Wow. 566 DPS, two-hander. Not for him. If he had a barbarian or a barbarian friend, that'd be a pretty good item, but, well, we're going to pretend that Timmy doesn't have any friends because he named his Demon Hunter Timmy. I mean, come on. But he's still happy. He got this really awesome thing, but he wants his Venom Husk. So he's going to go up on the auction house, and he's going to post this up, and he's going to post it up on the Real Money auction house. Now, the important thing is here, he can do this for free, because every week we're going to allow people to have a small number of free listings. And one of the reasons for that is we want you to be able to generate some income and get a balance without actually having to spend any money. So he puts his Overfiend up there. It sells. Bong. $7.50 in his account. Now, he could have output that to a PayPal account and made $7.50 playing Diablo, which is pretty awesome. Or he can do what he did, which is put it directly into his e-balance, and now he can use that to go back on the auction house and buy things and post more auctions. So Timmy is happy. He goes up, he finds his Venom Husk, $5. Bam. Purchased. Sent to his character, and equipped. Check him out. So on top of being able to participate in that way, we also are going to add a lot of features. Some of you are in the beta and you've managed to play with the gold auction house, and you've probably noticed that it's not really as fully featured as we'd like. So we are adding a bunch of new features. The first one is a smart search feature. And basically what this does is it takes any character that you want, it'll look at the character and say, okay, you seem to be a barbarian who likes a lot of crit. So we're going to point you at items that do that. And then you can kind of funnel the results and say, these are all the items I want, but I really want precision, I really want lifesteal, so just show me the ones that have those affixes on them. So another thing we've done is we're going to add an advanced search, which really is kind of a bigger version of the smart search. It lets you basically just set all kinds of parameters, pretty much anything that you can literally specify the exact item stats that you want to see. And features like this are really important because the Diablo item system is not filled with a lot of named items that are easy to search for. You're really going to be searching more for stats. So next, we are going to let you sell stackable items. It's currently not supported, but it will. That's gold, gems, crafting dies, tomes, books, all those types of things. Almost everything that is worth selling, pretty much everything that's worth selling, we're going to allow you to sell in the auction house. All right.
Let's talk about game tuning for a little while. We're getting ready to finalize a lot of the game components, particularly the difficulty in the classes and the monsters. We're making a lot of improvements to the monsters. I'm going to be talking a lot about changes that we've made since the beta, as well as changes that we've made since last year's Blizzcon. For those of you who don't know, a lot of the content for killing monsters in Diablo is based around rares and champions, and they have magical properties like Electrified or Plagued, Teleporter, Desecrator. We have a couple of new affixes that we've been putting into the game over the last few weeks. One of those new ones is actually on display in the video over here. It's called Mortar. Mortar is, the monster has the ability to lob these grenades. We felt like a lot of the affixes that are currently in there penalize melee much more than ranged, things like Electrified and Plagued. So Mortar actually shoots grenades a minimum distance. So if you're, let me go back on that. If you're a melee character, the grenades will actually fly right over your head. Moving on to some passive skills, we're going to talk about the classes. A lot of the focus has been on making passives good. We've had feedback that some of the passives are interesting, but some of them aren't so interesting. Some of the classes don't all seem to have equally interesting number of passives. Here's one of the new passives that we've got for the Barbarian. One of the things about passives is they actually serve a number of purposes. Some people want passives that support specific builds. Some people want passives that introduce cool new visual elements. In this case, we felt that it was important for a Barbarian to be able to have a defensive build option And we also felt that it might be instructional for players who aren't sure if a barbarian could be built in a tanky sort of way. So we have this new passive, Nerves of Steel, to help support that playstyle. Some of our other passives, this one's on the Witch Doctor, Fetish Sycophants. It summons one of the little fetish helpers to fight along your side. And this happens anytime you cast a physical skill. It's things like Poison Dart or Plague of Toads, 3% chance in every cast. So that's a really popular passive internally as well. Another passive I have here is Combination Strike. So if you guys remember the Spirit Generators, this one's a monk skill. In the past, we've called them combo skills. Combo skills, Spirit Generators, sort of interchangeable. In this case, if you use multiple different Spirit Generators together, you get a DPS increase. And the more Spirit Generators you combine together, the larger the increase. I'm going to go through some of the classes now and talk about them. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Synergy. So this is an interesting thing that's come up over the last few months as we've been tuning passives, is the situation where you have too much synergy can actually be bad. So the example that we have on the board, up on the PowerPoint, is counterattack. Whenever you dodge, you automatically damage your attacker. Sixth Sense, which gives you increased chance to dodge, and Evasive, which gives you an increased chance to dodge every time you critical strike. Each one of these passives is pretty cool on its own, but when you put them all together, we felt like it was actually taking away build diversity rather than increasing it. Because as soon as you took one passive, you had a synergistic advantage for taking a second one, and then the third one. And if we give you 3 passives to choose from out of 15, we're actually pigeonholing players rather than allowing them to explore. So we've been seeking out these sorts of overly synergistic passives and removing them. Talk about the Barbarian. So for those of you who've played the Barbarian in the beta, Barbarian we feel like is in a pretty good place. He's fun, he's visceral, he's doing a lot of things that we want to do. A couple specific areas that we wanted to target. One was Fury Generation. He has a couple of Fury Generator skills, and we felt like his small, spammable generators weren't paying off as well as his big generators. So for example, players were using Leap Attack, Ground Stomp, Warcry, and skipping some of the Fury Generators like Cleave and Frenzy and Bash. So we've kind of adjusted those numbers a little bit to try and provide a better balance there. Another area that we've been looking at is survivability. You didn't see it so much during the level 1 to 12 game, but as you started to get into higher difficulties, Nightmare, Hell, Inferno, we really found that Barbarians were having trouble staying in melee. The Barbarians need to be in melee range to do damage, and without the survivability, they just weren't able to do that. So we've been looking at survivability, like I said, the passive earlier on. We've been also looking at the Barbarians' base stats, and just looking to kind of make them a little tougher overall. The Wizard, also in a good place. For those of you, again, who've been following along, we have a set of skills that were called academic skills. We've renamed those to signature skills. It's the same idea. Basically, as you level up, the skills become cheaper. Eventually, they become free. We really like how that's playing out. Overall, the Wizard's feeling pretty good. One of the areas that is a concern for us is whether or not it is worthwhile to use a signature spell when you're out of arcane power, and whether or not it's worth using a non-signature spell to spend your arcane power. So we've been tweaking those numbers to make sure players feel like they actually have different reasons to use different spells. And finally, one of the major changes that we've been making is all of the Wizard and Witch Doctor spells have been converted over to do % weapon damage. A major reason for this is we really felt that the casters needed to value their weapon more. People were finding weapons and looking at it and saying, well, I don't really care about the stats on this sword because my skills don't use it. So it's all based on weapon damage. One of the questions we get all the time is, well, then should my Wizard just use a giant two-handed mace? Because I don't want to hold a two-handed mace. Well, in addition to being based on weapon damage, we also use the weapon's speed to determine your casting speed. So if you use like a wand or a fast dagger, then you'll actually cast faster as well. Talk a little bit about the Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor lover over here. One of the questions we get also is about mana. People have noticed that in the beta, mana seems to be unlimited. This, in the beta, is absolutely true. The mana gameplay that we want, mana is the only resource that's returning from Diablo 2. So what we're doing with it is we're providing multiple mechanisms for the Witch Doctor to recover mana. In this case, one of those would be passives. There's a number of passives that have to do with mana regeneration. There's also runes, and some of the runes will help out with mana regeneration or making some of the skills.
Presenting the first panel of the day, put your hands together for the Diablo III Lore Panel.
What's up, everybody? I guess if it hasn't been announced, welcome to day 2. It's very good to see y'all up and alive this morning. Hi. So guys, it's kind of interesting, 15 years of Diablo, and at least something like 7 years of Blizzcon. We've actually never had just a straight lore panel before, so this should be really cool. We've got some absolute badasses on this stage today. Guys, this is Leonard Boyarsky. He is our senior world designer on D3. Kevin Martins is our lead content designer, and we've been tag teaming now, what seems for 100 years on Diablo 3. We're gonna riff a little bit on some new ideas, talk a little bit about Book of Cain and some of the history we've been trying to put together, and then we'll open it up for Q&A around the midpoint. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Hell, we do too. So as we get started here, I wanted to tell you guys, many of you know we've been doing this Book of Cain thing. Do we talk about it a little later in this presentation? It's up to me. We'll talk about it right now. So we put together this thing called Book of Cain because, you know, the past number of years as we've been developing the story for Diablo 3, it demanded that we kind of relook at the world and relook at, you know, kind of the way history flowed. The Diablo series was developed between 2 different companies, probably something like 8 different fiction writers, you know, across manuals, you know, in the game scripts. And to be totally honest with you, it was a bit of a mess. And as we started really getting deep into D3, where like new ideas were coming out and kind of new looks at the world were taking shape that were really, really cool. And so we started to really look at the history and tighten up and trim and kind of relook at how these ideas stack. So, you know, so you get like the most maximum tight and smartly built, you know, continuity, you know, game continuity. So, and that really begat the Book of Cain. You know, as we kind of got all these ideas together, you know, this is pretty badass. Maybe we can, you know, put this in a cover and give it to people. So I just want to say up front, we get this on the Warcraft and StarCraft fronts all the time, is, you know, when you start tweaking things and, you know, purposefully retconning things, you know, it can get a little emotional. You know, people like to know what they know and like to count on, you know, the lore that they've been following for years. So I just wanted to say up front, especially in the Q&A part, I'm sure you guys are gonna have a lot of questions for things. I know like previews for Book of Cain went up last night, and some things look a little different than they've looked for years. But all by design. No real major world changes or anything like that, by the way. This all sounds very gnarly, but just want to say up front, like we've been going back through history and trying to tighten it up and make it as smart as we can make it. So wanted to say that up front. As we get going here, I want to talk a little bit about the eternal conflict. As I roll right into that, we want to kind of debut kind of a kit of ideas that we've been building into Diablo for a while, but we haven't really evidenced in the game series so far. But I thought it'd be fun for you guys to see a little bit of the angels in the Diablo universe, right? We don't talk about them a whole lot. The only character you guys have seen consistently is Tyrael. So to kind of set up a little discussion about them, the idea is the Diablo universe is predicated on an eternal conflict. We have the high heavens and the burning hells. And one of these modified ideas that we've come up with, that we've been running with for the past couple years in development, is that what are heaven and hell actually fighting about? What are they doing, right? We kind of had this idea that, I don't know how to explain Anu and the dragon, right? Like, there's a mythic cycle we came up with of like the creation of the universe, right? That the ultimate manifestations of good and evil fought at the beginning of time and pretty much wiped each other out in kind of like a Big Bang kind of explosion, right? So part of the good guy was this kind of massive crystal, right? And we call it the Eye of Anu, right? It is the world stone, right? You know, kind of spinning out in the heart of the universe itself. And legend holds, right, that with the World Stone, legend holds, like I'm making it up as I go, that the World Stone can be used, it's called the World Stone, to build worlds without end. It's essentially, the heart of, this supreme deity, right, that, is a force of creation. So with this thing, it's theorized that you can build worlds without end. And ultimately, heaven, the high heavens and the burning hells, pretty much are also evidences of these first two great, powers of the universe. So as the high heavens and the burning hells, as the angels and demons kind of become aware of each other, they start fighting over this world stone, because whoever controls it, right, can pretty much shape reality to their whim. So the idea that we built is in the center, of the universe, where this world stone is, the forces of heaven and hell have been fighting there. We call that place Pandemonium. You guys will be familiar with the Pandemonium Fortress, from different, I think we had a look at it in...
Yeah, it was in Diablo 2.
Diablo 2.
And at that point, the angels controlled it, and it was sort of their forward operating base
Right.
at the gates of hell. So.
Right. And the idea is that over the aeons, right, since the dawn of time, heaven and hell have been fighting. Different sides have held it for different lengths of time. For this 10,000-year span, hell's owned it. For this next, 30,000-year span, heaven owned it. So its architecture is kind of shaped relative to both of those cultures, kind of like a Jerusalem kind of thing, right? Like different occupying forces have controlled this thing over time.
I should say it's also way bigger than what you guys have seen in the game. There's a lot more to it that we've never shown or talked about.
And the idea is that the Pandemonium Fortress is kind of built around the World Stone, right? And kind of built to contain it, and it certainly provides us with a nice little battleground for these forces to clash over. As you move forward in time, the character of Inarius, right, started to chafe at this giant battle. He didn't want to play ball anymore. He thought that this unending eternal conflict was just ridiculous. He's like, I'm out, I'm done. He just kind of has a total break. And long story short, he conscripts like-minded angels and even stranger like-minded demons, like the demoness Lilith. And they pull off, the Ocean's 11 maneuver. They actually wind up stealing the World Stone from the heart of Pandemonium. Technically, it's explain, it's still right there, right? The World Stone exists at the heart of creation, but somehow they dimensionally veiled it, right? They kind of blinked it out into a dimensional pocket that heaven and hell could not see. You can imagine what that would do to the eternal conflict. Suddenly the thing we're fighting over, the power of creation itself, zoop, is gone. So that complicated things for heaven and hell. What do we fight over now? Where the World Stone went is in the dimension of sanctuary. With this power of creation, Inarius and his goofy friends forged for themselves a paradise, a garden sanctuary, right, where they could do their hippie stuff and, run around naked, have fun, chase bunnies. And there, these renegade angels and demons began to get it on. They had babies. They had scary, mighty, supernatural babies called the Nephilim. Long story shorter, over time, these Nephilim, long story, their bloodlines begin to diminish, their powers begin to diminish because they're very, very scary, mighty monsters, something that was never planned for in creation. Hybrids of both angelic and demonic power. What am I doing? This is weird. Grabbing air. Sorry. Hold me. What were we talking about? So the Nephilim ultimately diminish and become us, become men, and the idea, and women, and the idea is that locked within mortal genetic code, right, is the power of gods, right, far beyond angels and demons, right? The thing that scares the living hell out of heaven and hell is the fact that we are the potential to be far mightier than they. Some of these ideas you guys might have seen in the Sin War trilogy that we put out a number of years ago with Richard Knack. We were kind of riffing in this space and trying to construct a trilogy that would sing to some of this stuff. But if you guys wind up checking out the Book of Cain, we definitely get into all this stuff and show the very linear chain of events that really produced Sanctuary. So having said all that, let's get into this. So angels, we never talk about them, right? You guys might have heard a few names before, like Tyrael, Isual, Inarius, this angel that went nuts and stole the World Stone and made a world for us to live in. as we were developing Diablo 3, we thought it'd be cool to kind of chase down these angels, right? Just kind of, hey, who are these guys? What's going on? We always deal with the Lords of Hell. We know exactly who these 7 Yahoos are. Why not just kind of riff and hook ideas for the other side of the argument? So what we jammed up long ago was the Angelus Council, right? The council of 5 archangels that pretty much rule and administrate over the high heavens, right? They are the direct opposite counterpart to the Lords of Hell. Much like the Lords of Hell, who each have their own sphere of influence, like, the Lord of Terror, hate and destruction, the Angelus Council also have very specific spheres of influence that pretty much define who they are and what their function is in the high heavens. As we're rolling through, Doctor, thank you. You guys have seen Tyrael before. Tyrael is the Archangel of Justice. And what's kind of cool about the aeons of history of Diablo before the creation of Sanctuary, I think Tyrael is a fairly anal retentive dude, right? He's about order, he's about justice, he's about the system of how things work, very unbending, very rigid kind of guy. And what's cool about the dawn of mankind, the creation of Sanctuary, one day, Tyrael finds out that, that this world exists and there's people running around like, holy cow. The result of the Sin War, whereby a hero, a Nephilim hero named Uldyssian kind of achieves ultimate power. He's on the verge of achieving his just maximum Nephilim, power, which scares the living, I gotta stop doing the pun, which scares heaven and hell. Uldyssian gives of himself. He pretty much sacrifices himself. Instead of attaining godhood, he chooses his humanity at the end and pretty much dies in an attempt to kind of reset things in the world. Affected by Uldyssian's sacrifice, Tyrael, this rigid archangel of justice, goes, wow, right? These mortals, while they scare everybody else, have such capacity, Peter Brady had such capacity for selflessness and honor and heroism that Tyrael really begins to change. It really begins to kind of drop the whole, systemic thinking and kind of legalistic worldview. And really, that's why he kind of becomes the maverick of heaven. It's interesting that the Archangel of Justice pretty much becomes the outlaw of the Angelus Council. And we see through history, time and time again, he has intervened on behalf of mankind because he believes that we have some great innate worth, and which is essentially why he is our favorite angel, right? Tyrael is, he's the man. You guys dig on that statue over there? How crazy is that? So badass. The next archangel is Ariel, the Archangel of Hope. Ariel is, as you'd expect, the most upbeat of the Angelus Council. She's serious as a heart attack, infinitely wise, infinitely hopeful. She really works as, if this group was a player group, she's the cleric, right? With her power and with her kind of cord of hope, it's kind of this item that she wears that can either bestow blessings or kind of be used as this kind of cool, energy ribbon. Ariel really works as the heart of the group. She holds them all together. You might assume that these archangels in this family is very dysfunctional. They don't always get along really well. Even though they are wonderful, angelic people, they typically have their heads up their asses, and Ariel really tends to be the grounding force amongst them. The next archangel we want to talk about is Malthael. He's an interesting character, and we're really still kind of chasing down his storyline. But the idea with Malthael is that he's the Archangel of Wisdom, and from time immemorial, he's really served as the conciliary to the Angelus Council, the kind of the voice of reason, and the guy that has when he speaks up with his soft little voice, like everybody listens, right? He's usually right, which I'm sure pisses everybody else off. One of the interesting things in the history we've devised is at the point that Inarius and his buddies hijacked the World Stone, the heart of creation, to some degree, Malthael flipped out, right? This guy that's constantly thinking about the universe and the truth of reality, suddenly the heart of reality blinks out, right? Again, it's sanctuaries being created. These guys don't know where it went. And it kind of fries his brain a little bit. So kind of over time, Malthael kind of begins to darken a little bit. We're still kind of working out his story, but interesting transition. The Angel of Wisdom has become something more like a very grim character, right? Thus the scythes and stuff. Malthael's definitely got a big part to play in the ongoing story of the Diablo universe. The next archangel we want to talk about is Imperius, the archangel of valor. Imperius is probably the biggest ass kicker in Diablo continuity. Well, until you guys get your hands on the game, that is. Imperius is one of the funnest new characters we've developed. This guy is pretty much, he is very commanding. He's just absolute badass in combat. He lives to tool out demons. He's been fighting since the dawn of time. He's killed, billions and billions of demons, and he's real good at it. And he tends to be a very loud voice on the council. You can imagine sometimes he almost kind of bullies things to get his way. The dangers for someone like Imperius is that valor, can so often, kind of turn to pride. And for that reason, Imperius and Tyrael kind of go at it from time to time, right? They're kind of the two older brothers, and they kind of get under each other's skin often, right? They have very different views on things like the nature of creation, things like should mankind have a right to exist, or should they be nuked entirely? They don't necessarily agree on those lines. So again, Imperius is just one of the coolest new characters we've developed. And as we hit the last guy, this is Ethereal, the Archangel of Fate, the great lore keeper of the high heavens. This guy can't literally tell the future as such, but he sees the various strands of possibility that weave into the future. He's a guy of kind of vast knowledge. He kind of rarely speaks, but he's definitely this guy that they go to in times of crisis to try and figure out, should we go left, should we go right? An interesting thing about Ethereal is that while in the universe out there, he's pretty much got things dialed in. Since the World Stone was stolen and Sanctuary created, I think this is true. I may just get in trouble. All right. Just wanted to double check.
First gets it right.
Stuck my foot in my mouth. He can't see mortals. Mortals were not meant to exist, right? So he cannot see the skeins of our destiny, right? And that weirds him out. And by extension, it weirds the other angels out too. Mortals are just the Gordian knot that these guys have no answer for, right? We vex them. We vex them highly. So guys, that's a kind of quick sketch look at the Angerus Council. It'll kind of be interesting to see here as the Diablo franchise gets moving here, how these guys may or may not play out. But we had a lot of fun developing them. So now I'm going to hand it off to Leonard, who's going to tell us a little bit about the bad guys.
That's okay. Thanks. All right, let's talk about the Lords of the Burning Hells. I got this. Originally, the Burning Hells were ruled by the three primevals, Diablo, Mephisto, and Baal. And subordinate to them were the lesser evils, Belial, Azmodan, Duriel, and Andariel. And as Chris has already mentioned, from the beginning of time, they were involved with the high heavens in the eternal conflict, basically a war to see who would hold sway over all of creation. And this went on until the discovery of the existence of Sanctuary. Once again, as Chris has mentioned, this was created by renegade angels and demons. So this was something new in all of the history of time, something that both angels and demons had a stake in, that they were responsible for. And this led to a surprising development. They called a truce in the eternal conflict. But even more than a truce, they agreed to a non-interference pact. They said that neither side would interfere with the development of mankind on Sanctuary. Now, of course, the primevals, being the primevals, had no intention of living up to their end of this bargain. They theorized that mankind, left to their own devices, would drift over to the side of darkness easily enough, of course with a little bit of a push here and a shove there, provided by the primevals themselves. This didn't sit well with the lesser evils, especially Belial and Azmodan, and they made their displeasure known by starting a civil war in hell. Now, this civil war went on for quite a while, until even the minions and armies of the primevals turned on them. And the primevals were overwhelmed by the sheer numbers, and they lost this civil war. This led to them being exiled to Sanctuary in what is known as the Dark Exile, and this in turn led to the events of Diablo 1 and 2, where they were hunted down and captured by the Horadrim. And if you all recall, in Diablo 1 and 2, they escaped their imprisonment, and it's your job to hunt them down again and destroy them. But you don't only destroy the primevals in those games, you also destroy Andariel and Duriel. So for those of you keeping track at home, that means that there are 2 Lords of Hell unaccounted for. So the first Lord of Hell that you meet in Diablo 3 is Belial. He's the Lord of Lies. He is a master of subterfuge and deception. He's very insidious, but he doesn't like to get his own hands dirty. He likes to use underlings for that purpose. This is Magda. She's a witch. She leads the coven. It was filled with dark cultists who have pledged their life to the service of Belial. They are the antagonists that you meet for the first good portion of the game before you ever run into Belial, and they're a lot of fun to deal with. Also on Belial's payroll are these snake demons. In keeping with the theme of deception, that is what Belial is all about. These guys can disguise themselves as human beings, so you'll never know when you're dealing with them or when they're going to turn into demons and attack you. Now, as far as Belial himself, he's all about corruption from within. He's not an in-your-face kind of guy. He likes to manipulate his opponents. He likes to play on their fears and mistrust to turn them against each other. And he somehow used these techniques to take over the most important trade city in the world, Chaldeum. He's also sent his cultists, the Coven, and the snake demons out into the borderlands surrounding Chaldeum, and they've driven thousands of refugees into the outskirts of Chaldeum. But the city has been closed, so they have this refugee crisis. There's starvation, there's disease, and you need to figure out how Belial has accomplished this, how he has taken control of the city, and what his plans are before all these people die. Moving on, we get to Azmodan, the Lord of Sin. Now, Azmodan, as the Lord of Sin, has as his lieutenants the 7 deadly sins. In our game, you're only going to meet 2 of them. And the first one we're not going to talk about today. You're going to have to play the game to find out who that is. But the second one is Sedea, the Maiden of Lust. Now, some of you may recall that 2 years ago, BlizzCon, the costume contest winner was dressed as the Maiden of Lust, who at the time was known as the Mistress of Pain. It's a funny story. She was cut from the game, actually. She wasn't even in the game at that point. We had had the concept made for her, and we had kind of tossed her aside, said, you know, she's cool, but we really don't have a place for her. But once we saw the costume contest winner, we're just like, that is so awesome. We have to make sure to put her back in the game. So we found a nice spot for her as one of Azmodan's lieutenants. She's kind of like, so you guys do have an effect on what we do. She's a little bit like Belial in that she likes to psychologically torment the player, likes to taunt him, likes to get under his skin. Azmodan is different than this. Azmodan's all about raw, unbridled power. In these concepts that you're going to see over the next minute or so, this is our visual development of Azmodan. We wanted to show his raw power. We wanted to show his royalty. He's got a crown in this one that turns into like bony protrusions on his head in this shot. We really wanted to show, I mean, he basically ruled hell for 300 years after the Dark Exile. So we wanted to show his power, we wanted to show his royalty, but on top of everything else, we wanted to show his greed and avarice and his basically being ostentatious. He's got like all this gold on him. He's got all this, you know, these trappings of greed and gilding. So let's talk about Azmodan as a personality. Like I said, he's not into deceit. He's not into hiding. As a matter of fact, from the very beginning of the act, you know exactly where he is. You just can't get to him. He's behind the demon invasion that Deckard Cain has been warning everybody about for 20 years. And you can't get much more out in the open than spearheading a demon invasion. As you guys saw in the opening ceremony, we showed the cinematic that has him confronting Leah, and he's about 2 steps ahead of the player. He knows that you're coming for him. But even more than that, he knows about the Black Soul Stone. Now, I'm sure you all have questions about what the Black Soul Stone is, but let's just suffice it to say that the Black Soul Stone is a very powerful artifact that you're going to use to capture and destroy him. But he knows that if he gets his hands on the Black Soul Stone, he will be able to wield more power than any Lord of Hell has ever wielded before. The fact that he knows this is bad news, and it's quite a surprise to the player when you find out. So obviously, you need to get your hands on this artifact first and keep it from him. And lastly, and possibly most importantly, Azmodan here is the last Lord of Hell. You've defeated Belial, you've defeated all the other Lords of Hell in the other games, so that means that there are no more Lords of Hell. The burning hells are wiped out. There's no one left to influence or unduly corrupt Sanctuary. Once Osmodan is defeated, all evil will be gone forever. At least that's the theory. And then there'll be happiness and rainbows for everybody. Kevin? I'm sorry, Chris.
Oh, that is me. Guys, a little earlier we were talking about relooking at different parts of the continuity of Sanctuary, and I think word of one of the specific kind of changes we're running with. Did it get out a while ago?
It's kind of hinted at in the beta.
Totally. Brain just is not working this morning. So in the beta, you can kind of tell we have given the Dark Wanderer from Diablo 2, we've given him an identity. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why, right? Again, I know that retcons and things like that can really piss people off. And we are very, very sensitive to that, right? We don't put anybody off. We want you guys to enjoy these ideas, as it turns out. It would be wonderful if everybody just woo-hoo. But we know from time to time things fall out, and I wanted to address the Dark Wanderer issue. The reason we gave this guy an identity, well, I'll give you a weird one right off the top of my head. I'm not announcing anything, by the way, as I get into this, but let's say theoretically, I swear to you, I'm not announcing anything. If you were theoretically going to try to tell the story of Diablo in a different media type, if you're going to try and novelize Diablo, or do a movie of Diablo, or do a mini-series. Wouldn't a Game of Thrones mini-series of Diablo be mega?
He's not announcing anything.
I'm not announcing a damn thing, but I'm announcing loudly, I want it all. Is there any Hollywood people in the audience? Come and talk to Leonard. So, if you're attempting to tell this story, right, outside of the bounds of the game series as it stands, this guy's the guy. He is the hero from Diablo 1 who selflessly took, Diablo's power into himself, and now thus tortured, crossing the wastelands, is now trying to travel to the east to get rid of this evil demon. Of course, the demon inside him wants to have, a party with his brothers. So it's potentially, I don't know, an interesting story. I don't know if you wanted to do a miniseries or a movie or something. So even at that level, I was very keen to guys, we have to answer this question. It's going to be awkward. Like, wait a minute, I killed Diablo with my rogue. Well, Dark Wanderer clearly is male, so it's like already we were, forcing a solution on this thing. So again, I just wanted to address the issue. In particular, the identity we gave him is Leoric's oldest son, Aiden. The idea is that Leoric had two boys, Albric, the young one. He doesn't end well. Well, hell, none of them end well. Boy, Leoric's family just gets worked. But the idea kind of is, if memory serves, is that Aiden, as Leoric is falling to darkness, as he's kind of going nuts, he's possessed by Diablo shortly before the events of Diablo 1. And he sends Lochdanan and the armies of Condorus north to Westmarch, which is actually kind of like an allied kingdom, really. His war is madness, right? He's just trying to, Diablo, through him, is trying to get rid of anyone that would be able to stand against him as he corrupts his town. So essentially the hook is, Aiden, always trying to please his dad, which is maybe a played out theme, I get it. But he goes north with the armies, and he is obviously absent for the events of leading to Diablo 1, and ultimately, if you were telling this thing as a film or whatever, you pick up your story as he comes home, like, where's Dad? He went batshit crazy and he's a skeleton. Well, where's my little brother? Well, we think the Archbishop took him down under the old church there. Draw your own conclusions, right? So it's a nice, it's a really nice way of, Lazarus. It's actually a really nice through line, right? So again, that was our thinking. It's a character with immediate, total emotional investment in these events, and it makes a real nice story. So again, I just want to get out in front of it and address it. We know that it's a little jarring, right? But we felt very strongly that it just really works. It makes the universe better. Most of the time. Sometimes mistakes happen in terms of lore, right? I've had a couple. Out of something roughly like 10,000 ideas, sometimes you're going to get like 5 of them wrong. I'm kidding. Couldn't possibly be that many. 10,000, not the 5. So, just saying, right? sometimes things fall out of place, but for the most part, when you see retcons and changes like this, it is for a very good reason. It's typically, I'd say, very thought out, but let's just say thought out. Just wanted to explain that to you guys and get that right out there in front of it all. Certainly, if you guys have questions about that during the Q&A, we'll do our best to answer those.
Okay, World of Sanctuary. This is very much a switching of gears. It's not just going to be concept art. Let's show you some in-game stuff, and I'm going to show you 3 brand new areas today that you haven't seen before. 3 new zones from Diablo 3. Now, when I said that's not just concept art, of course it starts with concept art. But don't worry, there's videos coming at the end of these segments, each of them. So Caldeum is the major trading center of the world. This is the focus of, it's the Rome of its time. It's where everything from the east, the west, the north, and south comes through. It's that central portal. Now, just a really brief history of Caldeum. Leonard already mentioned that there's a big refugee crisis here, and Belial's obviously behind it, and you know that, but you don't know how, when, where, and why. This city had 3 major groups in it. They had the Zakarum priesthood, it had the big merchant families, and it had the Ishari Sanctum, which is the major wizard school. In fact, the wizards from Diablo 3 studied here for some time. These groups are always vying for power, and recently Emperor Hakan the founder of this empire, sort of brought them all under his boot and finally made this city more organized, and since then it's grown even more powerful and more wealthy. And so while they're always still trying to vie for power, Hakan did help a lot. However, Hakan died under mysterious circumstances, and we're going to get to that in a second. And recently, the child Emperor Hakan II has taken power, and this poor kid's just trying to survive until adulthood so that he can take over properly. And I'll explain a little more about that when we get to the people of Caldeum. Let's take a look at some of the areas. All right, so this is one of the trading passes that comes in from the west, and it's an overlook of the city, so you can see Caldeum there below. Here's one of the central bazaars. A tavern. Now, the society, and we're going to show a bunch of people in a second, is very stratified. In fact, literally, the rich people live above in this sort of Cloud City-like approach, these massive platforms above the poor people. This is actually a shot of the throne room, and you can see tiny little Emperor Hakan II there, and some of his Imperial Guard. You do get to meet Emperor Hakan and talk to him and hopefully help him out. So this is that child emperor, and this poor kid, it's not a patrilineal society. Emperor Hakan II was found through a Zakarum ritual, and they hired the Iron Wolves, the mercenary company from Diablo 2. It makes an appearance here again. The Zakarum worked with the Iron Wolves to find this kid, make sure, the merchant houses and the Ishari Sanctum don't take control of him or kill him and try to put their own person in there. So the Iron Wolves, we'll take a shot here of a Zakarum priest in his fancy Chaldean gear and an Iron Wolf on the left. They've become sort of the Emperor's personal guard, and they're helping him in a sort of regency thing. In fact, Ashira is the leader of those guards. However, the Iron Wolves have recently been kicked out of the palace. The Emperor ordered them out and replaced them with these new Imperial Guards. These is the guys in purple you saw in the throne room. They won't let anyone see him anymore. They won't let Ashira near the gate. So she's out there trying to help the refugees, wondering whether she should still stick around the city, if she can help that kid, what else she can do. And that's sort of the situation when the player arrives. All right, here's some more people of Caldeum. This is just some of the concept art. You can see there's some very cool variations, a lot of nice costumes. Some of the best costumes in the entire game can be found in Caldeum. Really cool character art. So the Dalgur Oasis. This is the central farming region. It's where most of the water comes from the city, and this is the area, clicker. This is the area that allowed this little trading outpost to become the grand city. Without this source of water, without this massive oasis, Caldeum would not be what it is today. So it's very important. Legend has it that this mysterious desert prophet named Dalgur came in from the wastes, took the city fathers of this little trading town out to the oasis and showed them this source so that they could grow. He promised, he wanted them to name it after him, and then he wandered back in the waste, never to be seen again. No one knows if that's a legend or not. So let's take a look at the Dalgur Oasis. Here's our female monk roaming through here. Belial's forces are all over this area, and many of the refugees came from here, so the water, you know, is a big problem, and people are starting to starve because no farming is happening. Watch for the exploding plants. The fauna is fun here. Flora and fauna. Belial's Snake Man. Not really a meaningful match for the female monk. So this is a really cool area contrast-wise from the super harsh deserts you're going to see in this region as well. You know, it's quite beautiful, but it's also very corrupted right now, so it's a great area for that. Moving on. The Archives of Zoltan Kulle. So this is our teaser area for today. Zoltan Kulle is a new character we've created, and he's actually one of the original Haradrim with Jared Kane and what's the guy that took over Mephisto? Tel Rasha, thank you. They founded the Haradrim, and they were the ones that tracked down the original Lords of Hell. I'm not going to tell you much more about Zoltan Kulle, except he turned bad, and he turned bad fast and hard. He became the most dangerous man in the world, to the point where the other Haradrim and the wizard and the sorcerers, everybody got together to try to kill this guy. Turns out they could not kill him. Somehow he had gotten immortality. The best they could do was to cut him in half, bury his head with runes and guardians in one part of the desert, and put his body in an alternate dimension in a vain attempt to try to keep this guy from not coming back together and ruining everything. He's that powerful. So we showed a little bit of this, these sort of ruins that we had in Blizzcon 2009. Just these little side dungeons, all sandy and collapsed. It looks like this, but sort of ruined, and the magic was all broken. You get to explore the other archives, which for hundreds of years have sat undisturbed, still, you know, sort of pregnant with the power of Zoltan Kulle. So let's take a look at that. This is just a teaser. I'm not going to show you any of the monsters there. I'm not going to tell you why you're there or what you're going to see, but it's again the female monk, and this time she has the scoundrel follower with her. This is just the entryway.
Do you think Kulle ever cracked a smile when he was alive? Seems to be a grim sort.
Even the cruelest man finds something to give him joy.
Yeah, what gives Zoltan Kulle joy is not good. Ooh, ominous. Thus concludes a planned part of the lore panel today, so please try to embarrass us up here on stage with questions we can't answer. No release date questions. Don't waste your question.
I have a question about a character from Diablo 1, Adria. When you went back to Tristram in Diablo 2, I couldn't find any evidence that she had died with the people, and I was wondering if she was going to make some sort of appearance in Diablo 3, whether it was just a passing thing or she would show up herself.
Well, if you've played the beta, she's Leah's mother. And when you go back, when you're running around Old Tristram with Leah, she talks about how the fact that her mother died and she was raised by Deckard Cain. So she obviously lived a little bit beyond the destruction of Tristram. You'll have to play the game to find out more about what actually happened to her. But, you know, in the beta, we talk about how she died.
Thanks.
How you doing? Real quick, I just wanted to ask about one piece of concept art that I saw a while back. It looks like two angels, and one angel is like powering up, and it looks like Tyrael cowering back. And I was wondering if one of two things: either can an angel fall and become a demon, and also, do angels have separate forms, maybe when they're about to attack somebody? That would explain the change. that we see in that piece?
Unfortunately, I don't know the exact piece of concept art you're referring to. It wasn't in our show today, was it?
No.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but to try to answer it more broadly, can angels fall and become demons? I don't want to get too precise in that. I don't think that's the case. But take a look at Iswal, who's the corrupted angel from Diablo 2. And here's some free lore. He's going to appear in Diablo 3 again. There you go. There's your reveal. How, where, when, and why again? Not saying.
Well, the trick of it, I think if you state it, can angels become demons? I would say no, but they can certainly fall, and they can certainly go very dark, and they can certainly be warped. But they're just innately other than each other. You know, like they're just not the same thing at all. Another thing to consider, and Book of Cain kind of gets into this, angels are light and sound. Right? They do not have any physicality whatsoever, right? The trick to this thing is, well, they look human, they're in armor. Like, well, that's convenient for us so that we know who's who and whatever. But ultimately, the heart of the high heavens is this thing called the crystal arch. It is a massive spire. Like we said earlier, the world stone may in fact be like the eye of Anu, right? The eye of this kind of a primordial, godlike creature. Well, the crystal arch is rumored to be his spine, right? That when the Big Bang hit, and these, primordial, creatures exploded and the universe was birthed, the crystal arch kind of spins up and out into the dark and over time kind of grows and really becomes the physical place of the high heavens. Angels are birthed from the arch. It hums with sound and music and power, right? And angels really, like the wings, actually, the angel's wings, that's actually them, right? The armor is just for purposes of building a world and being able to interact with these characters, right? That's helpful to us, but imagine Diablo angels is really actually more of the wings, which is funky, but it's true. They're sound and light given form. What was the question?
I saw this picture of an angel and he turned into like a badass thing with fire coming out of him, and I thought it was Imperious and Tyrael fighting.
Huh. I don't know the image.
Okay.
Maybe
Sounds
they were
good.
just putting on a play. I don't know.
All right. Thanks.
Hi. So I've been playing Diablo 3 beta. I got in through the invite, and I happened to pick up a piece of lore that interested me. It's concerning Leah. She has a mother, Adria, which is the witch from Diablo 1. I happened to find some information who her father was. Would you guys confirm that?
In the beta?
Yeah.
No, all Leah says about her father is that he went off to war and never came back. So, as far as she knows, he's dead. Who knows?
Well, there was some hinting at who the father was, and I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, but may I say?
Neither do we. So yeah, we're not gonna, who knows? Yeah, who knows? Right, but it may, in fact, play out as, a significant, thing down the road. We shall see.
We will neither confirm nor deny that blah, blah, blah.
I'm also playing through the beta, and one of the possible encounters is actually finding the corpse of Wariv from Diablo 2. And two questions. One, why did you kill Wariv and not Geed?
Probably because Geed is so very, very beloved by all fans of all time. And who says we didn't kill Geed? Who knows? Where is Geed? Interesting question.
Well, that's my second question. Are a bunch of Diablo 2 characters going to be sort of stratified throughout the whole campaign in sort of chance encounters, or will any of them have a major role in the story?
You learn. It's more hints than confirmation. Some of them, you find out exactly what happens to. Other ones are hinted at. Some aren't mentioned at all. So we've done some of it, not all of it, and I'd probably want to save most of it for that. I could mention one thing, since I told a journalist yesterday, I might as well tell you guys that an apprentice of the Necromancer from Diablo 2, you can meet him in the Stinging Winds, which is the region that we showed in 2009's Blizzcon. So he appears in 2 different possible events in that area. I look forward to you guys finding them and seeing what hints are in there.
Hi. So at the end of Diablo 2 expansion, Tyrael kind of throws his sword and destroys the World Stone, which seems like a really huge event. Does that have any implications on Sanctuary, like noticeable? I imagine it'll come out throughout the game, so I don't really want any spoilers, but will we be able to see that sort of thing throughout the game?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Yeah, the destruction of the World Stone, or was it, is a huge moment in the universe of Diablo, right? I guess the question would be, can you destroy a World Stone? I know what we saw, but
right, I mean,
it's just possible.
We've mentioned before that the World Stone was one of the things that was suppressing the power in humanity, their sort of natural birthright of being Nephilim, so it's broken now. What does that mean?
What does it mean for mankind? What does it mean relative to the eternal conflict? Can you destroy this thing? Or, especially if you consider it exists at the heart of creation, right? And it was kind of hijacked, and so the nature of its physicality there within Mount Arreat, does it exist on multiple, these are all questions that are very, very significant.
We answer many of those questions, but not all of them, and it's all very deliberate, and, you'll more to come.
Well, something that we even talked about this morning is that, the World Stone kept large numbers of angels and demons from coming to Sanctuary. So now that it's gone, people were wondering why the invasion hasn't happened. And finally, when you run into Azmodan, the demon invasion is finally happening. So that's at least one way that it's definitely infecting Sanctuary.
Yeah, and Azmodan's not an idiot. He's seen what's happened to all of his brethren, and he knows how dangerous humans are, so he's trying to be careful and come with overwhelming force.
It's funny, Azmodan's invasion actually happened like 15 years ago, but he forgot his keys at home and they had to turn around and go back. That was terrible.
Can we get a courtesy laugh for him?
Thank you.
Hey, I just want to ask, you're talking a lot about the high heavens, the burning hells. Does the necromancer god Trag'Oul factor at all into the story of Diablo 3 or any upcoming tie-ins? And if I could add another question to that, does he have any effect on Ethereal's ability to see the future?
Okay, so Trag'Oul was last seen in the Sin War trilogy. And he is the father. For those of you who don't know, he's sort of this world protector dragon. He might be a living constellation. He might be a personification of, the past, present, and future of humanity. So he's a mysterious character. He is the founder of the Necromancer Order, and he's very concerned with balance. He is not around anymore. After he set his necromancers on the path, Rathma was their founder, and he, set them on their path. He's gone. We don't say where, and that's sort of one of the mysteries of the universe that's out there right now.
And does he really? Nope. Okay.
Hi. When we killed the two lesser evils in Diablo 2, they didn't actually have like a soul stone, so would they still be around?
That's very interesting.
I would say I wouldn't. Let's try that again. I wouldn't leave them lying around. That'd be dangerous.
I urge you to play.
Picking up a Lord of Hell.
You got to play Diablo 3. You're going to learn so much when you play that game. You should try it out.
Thank you.
You are totally not satisfied with that answer.
Hey guys, I had a quick question. In the cinematics for Diablo 3, you see like the smoking remains of a mountain and this demonic horde pouring forth from the bowels of it. Is that mountain the shattered remains of Mount Arreat after the World Stone was broken?
Yes.
And why at that particular point are they choosing to invade from?
I would say, boy, have we even discussed, there's a logical one that pops into my head. I don't even know if we've discussed it because it's always just been, it just seemed obvious, but if the World Stone just went up or whatever happened to it, this is the place between the worlds where, you know, the fabric of reality is weakest. So if you're going to invade, right, it's kind of the spot where, you know, you can push a lot of demons through, right? So, I don't know.
No, that's actually pretty much as far as we've bothered discussing it is, yeah, exactly that. And we haven't gone to a detailed
And it looks bitchin'.
scientific analysis of why exactly there. But yeah, it's cool. How's that sound?
Sounds good enough to me. Thank you.
Hey guys, I have a two-part question for Kevin. So, why are you so devilishly handsome? And
I just asked him that this morning.
yeah,
I've been waiting for the softball questions. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. And the second part is the witch doctor. Which tribe does he come from? What's the name of it?
Now you're killing me. Is it the Seven Stones?
I don't know.
We'd have to look.
The answer to the first question, I can do that one though. It's skin cream. You got to look after your skin.
You can actually. There's a web story about it, and Abd al-Hazir visited his tribe. So the tribe that he goes to is actually the witch doctor's tribe.
You remember that character's name, but you don't remember the witch doctor tribe name?
He reads a lot of lore for us in the game, so I carefully remember him.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. You just, I was watching some of the videos there about environments, and I was just wondering, the environments look to be really detailed, and I was just wondering whether they're still randomized or not.
Yes, they are. So it's a little different than it was in Diablo 2 in that the exterior zones, the outside ones, the non-dungeons, don't have randomized edges. Those are set, and as a result, they can look a lot cooler. What we have is giant sort of squares of content in the middle that switch out. So you could walk through, and you know, one time there's a little encampment, and it's full of snake men, and you kill them, and you get a lore, and it's like Belial's orders, and you learn a little more about the story. The next time you go, it's the entrance to a temple, and inside is a treasure hunter, and he's got the Idol of Ragnar, and then you've got a 30-minute dungeon underneath, and the time after that, it's one of Zoltan Kuhl's archives. Like, so we do it sort of that way. And other time you can walk through and it's just empty desert. So that's where a lot of the randomness comes. And the way that the main quest objectives are set up, you have to be exploring a zone to find that. And as you do, you will run across all of these other random events.
And the dungeons are still completely random like they were in D2.
Thank you.
Hello, so after what you said, I would like to know where is my hero of Diablo 1?
We're going to get through this, guys. We're going to be all right.
Okay, if I remember correctly, and all of you just correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe that we are implying that Bloodraven is the rogue from Diablo 1. So the heroes of Diablo 1 all became corrupted, and we reference the sorcerer later, I think in Act 2. Forget exactly where. You guys know more than me, I don't know. There's some guy. And then we do not explain what happens to all of the heroes from Diablo 2, and some of them are referenced and some of them aren't. So that's where we're at with the characters themselves.
So, I mean, even during Diablo 2, it was established that the warrior from Diablo 1 was the Dark Wanderer. So we're just kind of adding on top of that.
We've clarified his background and specifically tied him to Leoric and the events of Tristram.
Hey guys, I always liked the fact that in Diablo 2, some of the equipable items had kind of a direct connection to the lore, such as Azarath and so forth. And I was wondering if any of the loot in Diablo 3 might have kind of a direct connection to the lore that might make it, in the player's eyes, something I really need to have. And then also, really quickly too, one of my favorite NPCs was Ormus in Diablo 2, and I was wondering if he might have a less ratty life making an appearance in Diablo 3.
On the item question, absolutely there is major lore tie-ins all over the place. Like most of the legendary items have a little piece of lore on their actual like mouse over tooltip as well, adding quite a bit of depth to the world. There's many references to existing Diablo lore, there's many hints at new Diablo lore, and of course we have, separate from the item system, all these lore books in the game. quite a number of them, many of them narrated by either Deckard Cain, sort of the historian of our world, and Abdel Al-Hazir, who's this great traveler character who narrates much of the other ones. As for Ormus...
All right, here's a big reveal. Ormus sadly didn't make it to the final game. He actually was in the game for a while, so that means we have a model for him. So I put my money on him showing up again somewhere.
Awesome. Thank you.
We have time for a few more questions.
Okay, you just mentioned about the Diablo 1 heroes were going to be Blood Raven in Diablo 2. So I'm wondering, is the Summoner also the hero from Diablo 1?
Well, I'm just the summoner, meaning
The guy from... help us out here. What's the area that he's in? Arcane Sanctuary, right. Thank you.
wasn't that was that Horizon?
Yeah.
Man, we're doing great.
Yeah, the question, the summoner was supposed to be the hero, yeah, from Diablo 1. I was just, what I was asking when you asked the question without the mic was, did we confirm that or did we hint at it? I think we confirmed it. So, yeah, I think.
That was the intent. I don't, hopefully it came across.
Good thing I'm manning a lore panel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
He kind of hinted at my question, which was whether there was a relationship between Horizon and, I forgot his name, the new guy, the new Horadric sage that you are introducing.
Zoltan Cool?
Yes. And so I'll also include a little thing. Is there a lore reason that Asmodon is sewn up the way those one demons that explode are?
No, it was just one of those artistic concepts that we thought looked really cool and really kind of just added to his look. There's not really a lore reason behind it. Horizon is a totally different, he has nothing to do with the Horadrim. He was, I don't know if you guys, won't get too deep into it, but him and his brother were mages, and they ended up this big, huge mage battle that almost decimated the known world at one point in time. So he had a totally different history from the Horadrim, and Zoltan Cool was a dark Horadrim, so they're completely different.
But they are certainly similar kinds of characters, you know, just very powerful wizards that went nuts and, you know, have subterranean, you know, bachelor pads, you know.
Thank you.
Hi, on the theme of revisiting story elements from the previous games, finding out what happened to them, what about the locations like Kurast and Lutgolain? Will we see them again?
No, it's almost completely new areas in this game. Most of the previous Diablo game references is we deliberately set the start of the game in New Tristram, which is across this little river from Old Tristram, because we wanted to, it's been, what, 10 or 11 years now since Diablo 2 came out. We wanted to sort of set that tone and get people back into it, and for people who had never played before, they sort of get to experience some of that history with the Skeleton King being your first boss, etc., to get that back in. But while we do go back to, Kyrgyzstan and some of the other areas, we wanted to show new things. Of course, Ariat being another exception to that later, that's where the demon army is coming from, but the area has changed so much that it might as well be a new area. Certainly we talked about, bringing a lot of those areas back, but we decided on brand new things instead. We love to sort of expand the world and show you new things whenever we can.
Thank you.
We have time for one last question.
Hi. My question is concerning the vessel of Diablo, because as far as I have read, neither Duriel and Dariel had a vessel, and no other lesser demons had a vessel, and Diablo even made an appearance in the Sin Wars without a vessel. So why does he want a vessel? What is he needed for?
Define vessel.
A human...
Soul stones?
The human that he takes possession of.
Right.
The king's sons. First the younger one and then the old one.
Right. So initially the evils, the three prime ones, were exiled. They were overthrown by the lesser evils, and they were thrown to Earth. They lost Sanctuary. They lost a ton of their power when they did that. And that allowed the Haradrim, not that the Haradrim were weak themselves, but that allowed the Haradrim to be able to find a way to capture them and hold them. So Diablo at the time of Diablo 1 is still very weak. He's got this essence and he's got these insidious plans and it's kind of slow moving. You know, he's got to take over a kid because he tried to do the orc and he couldn't quite do it, you know, and by the end he sort of tricked the warrior into taking the soul stone so he could get a more powerful vessel. Essentially he's just still building his power and, you know, he's not strong enough to just show up as Diablo yet, though he does get that strong over the course of the games.
I think you can argue just technically that while the World Stone was up and doing its thing, which suppresses, you know, angels and demons really to some degree, that most of these evils or whatever would have to be anchored in some kind of mortal form to possess them or whatever, really just to be anchored in this reality. Although with the World Stone blown to bits, all bets are off. You know what I mean? So these guys, very mega level, can probably just walk right in, you know.
Thank you.
Let's please give our panelists a big round of applause for their time.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Coming up next on the development panel stage is the World of Warcraft art panel, and on the main stage is the Diablo III open question and answer.